Happy Wednesday, everybody, and thank you for joining me. I'm joining you once again live from Calgary, and so I'm hoping that what you experienced today is a deeper dive into the company and how we've done so far this year. And I just want to remind everybody as you join that we're trying our best to become more transparent as an executive team, and that means that we're going to be doing a variety of different things. So far we've done a lot of informal kind of live updates from Calgary, from Detroit, from our SEMA show. And now we're working on a live update which actually provides you operational updates from the company. We've also put a lot of effort into improving the experience for you. So as you take a look, and you can see in the background, I'm hoping that it looks like something that's been edited, but I want to reassure you that I'm doing this live. This is our boardroom here in Calgary. And so if I fumble, if I point, or you see me making a direction, I've got a team in front of me that's helping me to get video and slides up. And I am so excited to share with you. We've been working hard all week. We've been taking videos over at our engineering bay because I couldn't get in the car and drive you over there with me. So we'll do some clips out and really share with you. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on in. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to spend a couple minutes at the beginning talking through the tech again. And so as I heard from shareholders and as I continue to reach out to customers, shareholders, all of our stakeholders, it always reminds me that it's important to really talk about what differentiates us, what our value comes from, and why we're going to be so important to electrification in the future. So we'll go through that on our Coil Driver and our Cell Driver and our new kits. We'll talk through partnership updates. Hopefully everybody's seen our press release today where we talk about being on time for our targets for the end of the year and delivering our first phase to Linamar, a fantastic partnership over the last 22 months. We'll talk about our new facility. I've got some product here in front of me that I'm going to share with you. And then we're going to do a new section in the second half, which, you know, as I thought of all the questions that were coming in on the website, again, they're totally out there for everybody to see. We don't edit them in advance, so you can see what everybody's asking. We spend a lot of time looking through that and thinking about our company and how we make sure that we continue to deliver value to all of you, our shareholders. So we're calling it On Our Mind as shareholders. That's me, that's you, that's all of us. And we're going to try to cover a bunch of topics in that section. We won't be directly addressing the questions, but hopefully what you'll find is that all the questions that were submitted will be addressed throughout this next hour. And so I'm going to go ahead and get a deck up behind me. And so we're going to jump right into what the Coil Driver is. And so as you think about Exro, what does Exro mean? What are we really about? We're a power electronics company. What does that mean? Well, it means that what we really focus on, what's core to us, is how we utilize our electronics to drive a different kind of control. How we use that control to bridge the performance cost gap. Well, what does that mean? Well, what we're referring to there is we have a variety of customers. In that, we have customers that want more performance. They want to go around a racetrack 1 lap faster. They want to pick up an extra load of garbage. You know, the reasons can be various. They're going after performance. We've demonstrated over the past year that we have industry-leading performance on torque and speed. Or you want cost. You want to make sure that you're doing it in a cost-effective package. You want that same performance that you have today that you can get out of your mechanical parts. In that case, we look at how we optimize, how we reduce motor size, how we reduce gearboxes, how we make that system better. That's really everything that we do. Whether we're controlling a motor or we're controlling a battery, the heart of what we're doing is still the same, and that is the power electronics. Next slide. And so today I'm going to share with you what I call our Exro ecosystem. So what does that mean? My vision 3 years ago, and my entire organization's vision, has really been about electrification isn't just about the e-mobility application that we're serving. It's not just about that car or that truck. It's how does that truck or car charge? What does that mean to the infrastructure? And so there's a lot that plays into that. What's really great about our products and the scalability of our products and what the team has done is how we do that. So when you think about our Coil Driver, our drives, we can go from anything from a 2-wheel to a bus, but it's really 2 core products, a low voltage and a high voltage. When you look to the battery side, the infrastructure, how do we help provide that stability to the grid? We're talking about our new Cell Driver, the battery control. We're focused on commercial industrial. We could scale down to a residential, we could scale up to a utility, but we're focused on that first product, commercial industrial. And then we have our great team out in Detroit, which is our Exro Engineering Services team. What they do is they pull that all together. How do we put those products into a vehicle? How do we put those products onto a building? How do we design? How do we make them all talk to each other? How do we build that software? How do we put them into kits? That's our vehicle design system. So you pull it all together, and that's Exro in a nutshell. And so let's start with the Coil Driver. What do we do with the Coil Driver? What are we trying to solve? What are the barriers to entry? Performance, affordability. How does Exro differentiate itself? We've got an AC fast charging feature, which we'll talk to at the end of the presentation. Really, what really is different about us is we are completely flexible. So that means that we can scale that small drive, what you see up there on the screen, down to a 2-wheel motorcycle. We can scale it up to an 18-wheeler. You know, 5 years from now, we could scale it into other applications that we're not even thinking about today. Wherever there's a need for speed and torque at the same time, Exro differentiates what that means. In our current target market of e-mobility, really right now what's happening in the industry is we think that it's this industry that's just like blowing up everywhere. That's true, it's booming. But the other side of that is it's very, very much in its infancy. All of our partners are also fighting to get to market, fighting to get multiple platforms to market at the same time. Their priority is getting those wheels on the road. But what's happening now is they're starting to think about how do they differentiate those cars, those trucks, those bikes. How do you, as an end user, make yourself different than the 10 other vehicles that are going out on the road next year? Things like our Coil Driver will do that. We will be the differentiator to the product. And so right now, what you see there, for those of you that haven't been able to ever come out to one of our facilities or join us at a trade show, that is the military Humvee. Why we did that is to show on-road performance, but it's also so that everybody could see how that product goes into it. And remember this is a proof of concept drive. So this was a drive that was put in when we did the CES show almost a year ago today. So that is actually a picture of the Humvee sitting out. That's probably in our Arizona location. That's the drive. That's a picture of our 800 volt high voltage drive. We drive the Humvee around. It's a great vehicle for us. It's a proof of concept, meaning that as we go to what's called design to manufacture, what's going to be run off the lines, what's going into production, we drive down the size. The reason you drive down the size is to drive up profitability as a company. Takes a long time, but we're going to get there. So this drive is really about how we reduce cost, enhance that efficiency, and we bring features that aren't anywhere else in the market, whether that's increased torque or gearing through the electronics or the ability to fast charge through the drive. Then we have our cell driver. Well, what's the relationship there? Two different types of physics. Coil driver, it's controlling a coil on an electric motor, coil driver. Cell driver, it's controlling a cell on a battery, cell driver. We could do module, we can do cell, you can do a lot of different things in there. We focused on a commercial industrial unit. The reason why we focused on a commercial industrial unit is because as we look at climate change around us, we see freezing temperatures in Arizona, in Arizona, they're cold, but not that cold. We see freezing temperatures in Texas. We see blackouts in Arizona and California. Think about a vertical gardening business. If they go down for even a couple of hours, that's really important to their crops. So the need for backup energy storage units is going to be key for this transition to electrification. So our energy storage unit will solve that issue. Next slide. And so we can scale it. This is a picture of our module. I've got some great video take of our modules here in Calgary that I'll share with you in a few minutes. And it's a fully integrated system. That's really key. So we have the innovation in the electronics itself, how we've combined the inverter into one set of electronics, but we've also integrated everything, the battery, the software, everything into that unit. This unit's currently undergoing UL certification. We're going to see a fully certified, fully commercially viable product in production by Q3 of 2023, on target for that. So what is this kits that we had over at the SEMA show? Are we distracting? Are we burning more? Do we have more squads? Guys, all this is those products that I've just talked about, kitted together to make us easier to do business with. So this means that a good size upfitter, somebody that's converting classic cars, Don't call me. Don't say, hey Sue, can you sell me it for your Camaro? No, we're not selling out to the general public. We're not a consumer business. We're a business to business. But you own an upfitting shop. You're converting a number of vehicles this year: classic cars, trucks, motorcycles. Give us a call. We have our kits. So the A20 stands for our low voltage 100 volt. It's what we have in Zero, EBTS, and a number of other customers under NDA and with pilots. Same drive. The L40 is our 400 volt, similar to what we've sent to Linamar. It can be done at 400 or 800. And our L80 is the higher rating for the trucks. And so bigger vehicles is how you think about it, 400, 800. So we can upfit anything from a motorcycle to a Class 8 truck with this set of drives. All we do is match it to a motor. We have motors that are part of the system. So we have pre-selected motors with TSA, with Potentia, with others under the low voltage that allow us to have a low voltage system. And we have the TSA and a few others coming on board in the new year that will be our high voltage motor partners. And then out of our engineering services group in Detroit, we've developed a VCU that can go with the systems, or we can customize a VCU, or we can do other things with the VCU as needed by the customer. For the kits, we package it: VCU, motor, and drive. When you look at the pricing that you've seen on the website, I've seen some questions coming in both directly and on our website. That pricing is for the aftermarket industry. So it's not the same pricing that we're using necessarily when we're selling in volume. This is for low volume, product that gets us out, product that starts to build our brand and is quick to market for us, starting to build that revenue base in 2023. And so now I'm going to kind of flip. So hopefully you've got a little bit of an understanding, very high level. We're controlling things, motors and batteries. Now we're going to kind of talk about where we are with our partnerships, where we are with our facility, where we are with Exro in general. And we're going to go into, okay, so from a progress update, I'm going to do a bunch of things. I've got things in front of me, which is why I look kind of distracted right now. So first of all, we've had a fantastic partnership in Linamar, and I feel extremely lucky and extremely grateful as a CEO of Exro to our team, but also to the Linamar folks, because they've been an absolute wonderful partner to work with. They've worked with us regularly. They've put a lot of work into seeing how we develop the product, and they just have a really innovative mindset to how we get to next generation. They're not only thinking about what they do today for their customers, but what we do together for customers in the future. And so it's been a great partnership. We've completed phase 1, meaning that we have a drive that's ready for them to start now testing on their axles. And so that's going to be multiple months. We're probably going to be into the second quarter of next year before you see an update with how we're doing with that validation. The reason for that is we supply the drive. We're going to pass it over. We're going to be co-testing. So it's not like we give it over and then we're done with it in this case. We're co-testing. They have the axle itself, then they're going to put it into a vehicle. They're going to get it on the road. It is a rigorous and long-term project. But once we reach commercialization, once we're successful and we get through that project, it's high volume. This is a tier 1 automotive. This is our conduit into the automotive world. So it's a huge step for us, and we're just really taking our time to make sure that we're extremely successful as we take each step through the partnership. On our low voltage drives, we have drives that are continuing to be validated. Well, what does that mean? So it's one of those things where I take for granted the things that we're doing every day. So when you think about what's happened over the last 3 years for Exro, why are we on dynos all the time? Why are we always talking about our testing results? This is really hard stuff, guys. This is not, I come from the motor world. Making an inverter is not easy. So when you think about it, you go from proof of concept. I'm going to really make it basic. There's automotive terms to this: sample levels, ABC, start of production. You start at a proof of concept. That proof of concept, those pilots go into customers that are willing and able to think about next generation. So in this case, we have pilots that are running in Texas with our partner EVTS. We have pilots that are running in Mexico with our partner Potentia. We have pilots that are ongoing in Europe with our customer. We have 2 partners under NDA in Europe now. So one of them has a pilot that's been ongoing. And as we go through that, because of the stage of company that we're at, it means that we have to keep testing our algorithms. We have to keep testing different pieces. Heat is a big one, and noise is another one. This doesn't mean that the product doesn't work exactly as we've promised. We're getting all the performance. It's completely de-risked. We have our third party. We have our product awards. We have customer validations. This is about how do we get to the product that will now be manufactured in bulk, make profit, and be sustainable. So it's called design to manufacture. So you move from a prototype to a design to manufacture. So while the vehicle is running with our prototypes, we're working on a design to manufacture. I'm going to lift this up now. So this here is our low voltage drive. And you can see this is an actual drive. This is not a 3D model. This is not something that's been manufactured. I have the lid off at the top. I can put my fingers right in there and you can feel the boards itself, okay? This is a design to manufacture. This is actually what we call our A20. This is what would have been in the Zero bike as a proof of concept. I can tell you that our first proof of concept that we had 3 years ago, even the one that's in the Humvee today, which is the high voltage drive, I couldn't have possibly picked up by myself with both my hands. And so the fact that we're at this size and that we're already, you've seen our social where we're showing vibration testing, this is huge progress. I recognize and I make no apologies for the delays that we've had. It's part of taking new tech to market. It's not linear, I keep saying that. So A20 drive right here, this is, as I said, our first real design to manufacture drive. Not running off the production line, they're still running off assembly until we get to series production, Q3. So I'm going to show you one more thing and we're going to go to the facility. This is a board, okay? This is what we build in our facility. This is what you see on top of that drive. There's many of these. This, guys, is thanks to all of you, our shareholders, and thanks to our Exro team. This is board number 1. This was run off of our facility this week, board number 1. We're going to frame it. We're going to keep it. It's huge, huge progress to think that we've come this far in just 3 years. All right. So the next kind of update, just before we go to a couple more slides, is on our high voltage. It's our last milestones for the year, is that we're going to be talking about a delivery to sea and to vicinity. We are working extra hard to get those pilots out. We're in testing with the motors that are continuing. I'm extremely optimistic and confident at the same time that we'll be able to deliver to sea before the end of the year. And you know, we're in great conversations with them, and we hope to have that truck on the road and running and giving you on-road data in the first quarter of next year. But we will have an announcement before the end of the year to let you know that, you know, hopefully it's that we've made that, or at least to progress you. But right now I'm going to say, as of this morning, we're completely on track for that. Okay, so I'm going to go in now about what is the testing. So what you see on the screen behind me in the picture, and I'm going to take you to the dyno bay. And when I say that, remember I'm live. So I'm not going to jump in the car because it's minus 26 in Calgary today and drive you across. But what I am going to do is share with you that is the facility, and I want to share the testing, the dyno. So see, we're live, guys, for real. So this is the dyno bay. So this is as if we're walking through. So I'm going to walk through it with you as if you're there with me. So what you see there is one of our test technicians. That's Addy. That is our low voltage drive. That is our project for Potentia. That doesn't mean that the drive that's in the van in Potentia is not still going through validation. What it means is it's testing their motor on this new A20, this new design for manufacture that I just showed you. This is part of the process. Getting back on the dynos, doing testing is how we make sure that we're going to be building a reliable product in the future. And so what you see there is literally the drive live testing yesterday. Phenomenal test results. We're super pleased with what we've seen. We are excited to be delivering the design to manufacture to Potentia for the end of this year, and we'll share what that means commercially as we get into the beginning of 2023. And so you can see that this is the small dyno bay. So what does that mean? Why do we have a big dyno and a small dyno? It's the different type of testing that we do, different sizes. A lot of what we do on the small dyno is software related. So as we're tweaking our algorithms, as we're putting in functional safety, as we're making sure that all the commands that go into a drive are working, we'll do a lot of that work on our small dyno. Then we go to the large dyno when we're doing performance testing, torque, speed, and others. So on all our dynos, this what you're seeing here is our Calgary Engineering Center. We have a very similar, not the small dyno, but the large dyno is an exact mirror in Arizona. That's running there. That's Ben from our software team talking through what we do on our software side. And so we're kind of just giving you a view of exactly what it looks like over in Calgary. If you came over to Arizona, what you'd see is similar, a little bit smaller in setup, but that big dyno is exactly the same. We actually call them mid-size dynos. And so we actually are running double the test capacity that we were running several months ago. Both of those drives are commissioning. What has been delayed is the dyno that we have been waiting on and we've been talking to all of you about for the last year. We have had more than 6 delays from the dyno manufacturer. Yes, I know why wouldn't we go. Our dynos are very specific. It would be, we can get other dynos, but it would involve different training. It would mean that we're training on 2 different styles, so it's part of our strategy to have all the same dynos. We've got confirmation that that dyno is ready to ship, so we're going to have that dyno shipping out at the end of this month. We've made a decision to actually utilize it as 2 mid-size, which means that we'll have 4 times the testing capabilities by about the middle of February. So what we're looking at there is dynos shipping out of Europe middle of December, arriving into US and Canada for the different test centers kind of middle of January. Then we have to commission, electrical come in. We have all kinds of work that's being done in that kind of 4-week period here and in the US. And we should have that capacity up and running kind of mid-February. That will help us dramatically. We had hoped to have out more samples. We have good demand of customers that want our samples. We won't be able to get out more than what's already committed on the CN vicinity before the end of the year. We're going to try, but I really don't think that's going to be possible. So we'll head into the first quarter, kind of start of the second quarter. First quarter on the L40s, it's very similar to what we have for Linamar. Second quarter, the L80, which is the larger drive. Again, when I use those terms, L40, L80, what I'm referring to is our high voltage design for manufacture. The pilot and prototype of the high voltage drive, that's done. There's nothing that we're doing there. We're doing some additional testing at a third-party lab to show the high level of torque that we can get. But from a design perspective, the pilots are all done. They've been in the Humvee. We're going to ship out some pilots. But again, I think the most we'll get out from a pilot perspective is the 2. Then we'll move to design to manufacture. So super exciting. I know it's a little bit disappointing to have that setback. These setbacks affect how quickly we recognize our revenue from how quickly we get the product out. It doesn't affect our start of production. Our start of production remains Q3 on the low voltage product, Q4 on the high voltage product, Q3 on the battery control. We're completely on track for that. We're actually tracking really well. Supply chain, from a component perspective, our supply chain team has been working endlessly to get us across the finish line, and we've got just great results on every avenue. So I see no problem, no delays with our start of production, which is what we all want to hear. Okay, so now from testing and validation, we're going to move to the progress on the cell driver. That's the battery control unit. So we haven't talked a lot about what is the battery control unit. So again, we're controlling a battery, we're controlling the cell of a battery. There's lots of opportunity. We're staying really focused for the next year on commercial industrial units and serving the commercial industrial market. So if you happen to be a shareholder who works for an integrator, you happen to have a building that you own that's around 10,000 square feet or larger, and you want to take care of the world ahead and put a solar on it and put some battery backup storage on it, call our sales team. We'd love to help you. It is at UL. We've announced our first fire propagation testing, big testing. The battery control team has been working, just extremely long hours and weekends and everything else. So Tung and the team have done a phenomenal job of getting that across the line for us. We've got 2 more major UL testing to do in the new year. We're on track to have that UL certified by the second quarter. We don't need to wait for the UL certification to go out and commercialize the product. So we do that in parallel. Inferno was our first partner. They're the installers for our solar roof here. It's a different to market in that on the battery control, what we're doing is we're going to market through what's called an integrator. When you think about an integrator for battery control, they're the construction guys that are going to put the solar on the roof. They're going to design the whole system. They're kind of the brain to how you make that solar battery storage work for your building. And so we're going to market through integrators. We're currently in talks with other integrators across the US, and we're looking to build a strong network of integrators across the US that can commercialize the product for us. But now I'm going to take you back to the Calgary facility by video, not technically, and we're going to show you the actual battery control and our working demos. So the first unit that you're seeing here is the testing of the battery control system. And so this is the actual system that would be at UL, and you can see it's a completely what you're looking at right now is all the cells. We're going to pan out a little bit and you're actually going to see the full unit. So this would go behind somebody's building. It could connect up, power up your building. It's going to help our grid as we look at all the vehicles that would be put on. If you happen to own a really big house, you could put this on it and spend a little bit more and just know that you're never going to be without power. So that's our commercial industrial 90 kilowatt, 192 kilowatt hour system. Then we have a second system. Can we flip? So this one I'm like I'm so proud of what we've done with this one here. So we have a project with EVTS where EVTS, David, their CEO, and Greg and the team are really innovative and thought about what do we do for the batteries? I know it's not a problem of today. Batteries are going to last us a long time, but how do we take these batteries and do something with them so that we make sure we don't have a supply chain issue with supply? So as suppliers start thinking about that battery, what this one shows you is that we combine batteries from a vehicle and first life batteries. As far as we're aware, this is a first. So it's the first time it's a hybrid battery energy system, a little bit smaller than the other one because it's a single phase unit, because that's how much battery we had available. We didn't want to put a lot of money into the development. So it's just the first life, second life combination. Those are working units in Calgary. They've been working for several months. We host people regularly now, customers, investors, that are able to come out and see that what we're saying we're doing and the progress that we're making is real. All right, from here, we're going to move into the facility. So today I'm sitting in the boardroom. I showed you all the first board that we ran right here. Okay, so this ran technically off the line this week. It looks really easy. This is so much work to do, so much programming of each and every machine. So we did a live update a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months ago, where I walked through with Simon. We did a video yesterday of how we're doing now, the machines that have been programmed. So I'm going to go ahead and get that up on the screen. And it's going to be as if we're walking through. So that's actually when you enter. We hadn't done that when we did that with you. This is the line running. You can see, lights flashing and computers that are actually on. We're not in production, just to be clear. It's going to take us a few months to keep programming, keep running boards. You run a lot of boards to make sure that you're getting every little thing right. And so we're going to keep doing that this week. But as you look, you can see a lot of empty space off to the side. And so again, I get questions when people have come through this other video. Why did we build such a huge facility for just one line? Well, guys, obviously that wasn't the plan. The plan is that we have 3 phases. So this is what we call phase 1. Phase 1 is an SMT line. Yes, there's lots of SMT manufacturers in North America, but there's no manufacturers that have what we have here. And what we focus on is quality metrics and what's called technical cleanliness. We focus on being able to meet the strict PPM that's going to need it. That's how many failures you can have in 1 million or in tens of thousands. It's usually very high quality. The design of the line, the flow of the line plays into how our yield will be and how we'll be able to produce. So we wanted to control that section of the board because that is the most critical section. We hadn't been able to find partners that we felt could really be able to do that as we look to our long-term vision. So we put up the SMT line. We could stay exactly as we are. This is all paid for. There's no additional investment for the SMT line. The space in the facility, in the clean room, it's actually physically in the clean room, is for what we call phase 2 and phase 3, the future vision. The timing of that, I can't tell you when exactly that will be. It will be customer driven. We're right now optimistic that we should move to phase 2 by 2024, phase 3 after that. So phase 2 would be the assembly in-house instead of at a contract manufacturer. The reason why we'd want to do that for particular drives is when you get into very stringent automotive standards, the fact that we can assemble the drive inside the clean room provides a level of cleanliness and quality that's not seen in North America today. So it's really key to us. It's a small additional investment that you'd make to finish line 2. In the meantime, we have our contract manufacturers. They're ready to rock and roll with us in Q3. We're ready to go. So there's nothing that stops us from doing production or from having to do that. That's just a nice next step for us to be able to drive profitability up for the company by bringing it in-house. The third phase is very automotive driven. It's longer term. It's what's called bare die mold. It's where we have very large amount of expertise with Simon and Eric, our CTO, on how we are able to take the silicon carbide and actually reduce the mold size. Again, not found, not common in North America, pretty popular out in Europe. The fact that we have the ability to do that, it's a pretty easy phase for us. It's equipment that we need to order, and we can put that in and be able to deliver. We don't need that right now to build our product. It's a generational upgrade that helps us to bring down profitability. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is what I've always committed to. We're exactly on track, if not slightly ahead right now of what we can do. We are progressing exactly as I hope we would. We have a well-trained team with Razi and the rest of the team under Simon to be able to develop the boards. And again, I don't right now see any risk to being able to get to production in the third quarter of next year. Okay, so now we're moving to the on our mind. How are we doing for time? All right, so on our mind is, I thought a lot about, you know, we will continue, by the way, so we will continue to do our Q&A, where you see us have a panel with John and Josh and Daryl and Eric and Spiros and Simon joining and Brian. We'll probably do another one in the new year. You'll continue to see us do kind of the briefer live updates that we've done from SEMA. I'll do them from different shows as I travel next year. We'll have another one before the end of the year, you know, kind of a Christmas out of the year, kind of last live update from Phoenix before we go out for Christmas. But this one is really more about letting you know how we're doing as a company. I hope I've done that in the first half of the company. So as I said, just to kind of recap where we are, we're delivered our first phase for Linamar, which means we're going into a phase of heavy validation testing with them. We've completed our drive design. We are on track to deliver our pilot on our high voltage to C Electric. We wanted to do more samples. We won't be able to pull that off before the end of the year, but we'll get that done in the first year. We've progressed the product into design for manufacture. We're in that stage right now. So we got a lot of environmental testing. You don't want it to drive down the road and bolts pop off and salt testing and all that great stuff that you have to do. We're in that stage. The tech itself is completely de-risked. There's nothing that's concerning us that the tech is going to not work as we've promised. On a low voltage side, the validations are ongoing. Yes, it's taking us a little bit longer than we had hoped. We had hoped to be in commercial deals there. Nothing wrong there. We're tweaking our algorithms. We're making sure the product is the design to manufacture instead of working through the prototypes. We'll have commercial deals for you being announced throughout the first quarter and second quarter of next year that get us into production and material revenue for next year. The last milestone that we have left for this year is a strategic partnership. I'm going to save that for 1 minute, not because I'm announcing a strategic partnership today. Yes, I'm still very optimistic that we're going to close on that. It is a huge undertaking, both from how we negotiate with the customer, but also who we decide to work with. Whoever we decide to work to is going to take up a good 2 years of our time in a development, or at least a year of our time. And so we really want to be careful and think about a customer that's really going to amplify our business and that we're not going to be left hanging in the future. So I am as committed and as anxious as all of you to get that signed and get it over the finish line. I still think we're going to do that. We have multiple conversations that are ongoing right now, but I want to make sure that we do the right one. I don't want to make any desperate choices. So this section is all about the questions that you've put online. I hope we've answered a lot of them. I'm going to call it on in my mind. I'll do them about once a quarter. So let's jump in. All right, patent infringement resolution. I am super excited about the outcome. I went out, I wear it with a huge badge of honor with the entire team, especially with Eric, our CTO, who helped us to work with our specialists that came in. And in the end, we did exactly what we said we were going to do. We did not infringe. We will always and continuously defend and aggressively defend our patent. And the fact that our tech is unique in what we do, it's not prior art or anything like that. I understand that you want to know all the details and you want to know so much, but what I am going to just leave it as is say we did not infringe. We did not pay any monetary fees out to ePropelled in that we don't have any royalty or other fees. They have a tech which is different than our tech. So I had some questions about how they asked about three-phase, in their statements they asked about three-phase. We don't have the same tech. Our tech is completely different, which is the stance we took from the beginning. So we're never going to develop something that is the same as their tech because that would be infringing. And so we're not going to do that. We had no intention of doing that. We haven't changed anything in our business model. We haven't changed anything in our commercial plan. We haven't changed anything in our product and technology plan. So let's put it behind us. Let's stand behind. We will continue to defend the patent that we have, and let Exro just focus on our future now. Next thing that's on our mind, the future view. What's going to happen in 3 years? What's going to happen in 5 years? What's going to happen in 10 years? I'm thinking about that all the time. I've been thinking about that since the day I started. I am really, really focused on the short term right now, because the most important thing we can do as a company is get these 3 core products to production. And so just the entire team is really focused on just taking one step at a time, getting across the finish line, and making the foundation that will serve our company for years. What's really cool about our model is that the strategic partners, the big visions, is what builds us into that hundreds of millions, billion-dollar company. We have a great business model with just our core products today that makes us self-sufficient, that makes us profitable, that makes us a real company, that grows us up. So when I think about 3-year and 5-year, remember the foundation of what we're doing. We're completely scalable. The markets that we're doing today, we're going to continue to focus on for the next several years, but we can enter different markets in future years. We are agnostic to the motor or the battery type. That means that as battery trends occur, solid state and other, we can continue to develop our product. What changes is the certifications every time you have that different cell type. So if we move to a solid state, we have to go into UL and we have to do another UL certification. That means time and money, so we're being very careful and making sure that we're treating our capital the best we possibly can to give you the most deliverable on your investment. On the motor side, the same thing. Motor tech is fantastic, and coming from the motor world, for those that have followed and supported us for a long time, you know that I worked for GE for several years as their CEO of the small industrial motor group. For those that are new, I've spent my life in the motor side. So motor tech, it's just incredible, the tech that is coming out. So I get that you would look and go, oh no, there's this new motor and it's going to drive more torque. Makes no difference to us. We can connect to those motors too. We are agnostic as the trends go, as we move hopefully into a world that uses less rare earth metals. The Coil Driver will prove that you can reduce your rare earth metals usage by several %. So we'll just continue to develop and work with different motor companies. Beyond that, I see the product scaling into other applications, whether that's an 18-wheeler or a train or a high-volume motorcycle is to be determined. We have enough right now that we need to do. The key barrier for us, because I think it's important that as we talk about everything that's really been going well, and like I said, this is not going well because it's all great. It's a lot of sleepless nights, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of hard decisions. And so as I look and I kind of reflect on that vision, what I would say is we dipped our toes. And coming from corporate into startup, that's what you do. You dip your toes because you don't know which one is going to work. You want to make sure that you're serving a solution, but the industry is moving fast. I'm really proud of the work that we have, because we have great products that are being validated in real world validations in 2-wheel, 3-wheel, 4-wheel, and soon to be the truck, in axles. And so we are prepared and we have the foundation to grow with the company. Where we go next is really going to be customer dependent now. So we have a strong patent portfolio. We have patents that we continue to work on, and we'll share new patents as they come out, as our R&D continues on things that we learned through the Coil Driver, in particular, how we do that. So you're going to continue to see us have other products that come to market with our product roadmaps. So for me, the future is very foundationally laid right now and very driven by what we can control. I've told you before, I'm a control freak. I'm going to keep controlling everything we can, and Eric's going to keep designing us products that can do that. Our product roadmap, I keep saying SOP. I just want to take a second to really ask, and I guess I can't ask because you can't talk to me live, but really tell you, what does SOP mean? It means start of production. It's really important because one of the barriers that we would face is that a customer wants to see the product on the road running for a long time before you go all the way into series production. And there's products that you don't. Off-highway, agricultural. There's lots and lots of business where they don't. But in general, start of production is a really important milestone for the company. If I looked and said, what is the most important milestone that we could hit in 2023? I tell you it's start of production. And the reason for that is everything else flows from there. You make revenue because you produce a product. So that's really key. For us, it's a technology, but our technology goes into those products. What is automotive certification? Why does that matter? This is really something that's kind of strange to me, coming from the industrial world and into the automotive world, but the best way I can explain it to you is automotive is the big guys. For example, commercial trucking is not necessarily automotive standard. Automotive standard generally comes into play when you're putting hundreds of thousands of units on the road. There's always variation, nothing is 100%, so there's lots of customers that look at 262 standards or IATF standards. We meet all of them. IATF, not yet, we have to be in production. The ISO was the roadmap to IATF. But don't think about it and think automotive means that you know, until you get to Ford, you're not automotive. That's not how it works. So when we say automotive, we are referring to passenger vehicles for the most part. And then lastly, what's the difference between LV and HV, and how does our line do, and how are we going to keep up? Our line is designed to be what's called a flexible automation line, meaning that we can reprogram the line to suit any one of the drives that we have. And when I say the drives, I actually mean the boards, again, these. So we can reprogram our lines to do the boards for the coil driver or for the cell driver. We can run all of those boards in-house here, and we can program to meet customer demand. For me, it's really all about how we serve the customer. We want to be that customer's choice and one stop, and we want to set that benchmark. So that product roadmap will evolve. As we launch into the new year, we will share an actual formalized product roadmap for you so everybody can see kind of where those product extensions happen. But for now, low voltage, 3-wheel down, high voltage, 4-wheel up, battery control. Those are the products. Think of our EVS team as the foundation. They're the ones integrating those products into kits. And think of our core Exro team as the roof. They're the ones that are developing how the core of all those products work. The charging infrastructure. What does it mean when we say we can AC fast charge compared to DC fast charge? Isn't DC fast charging taking off? If I had a key to the world and I could change it, I would say we've made a mistake to go only in DC fast charging. We've put something out which was the available technology in the market today to be able to serve a really huge problem for electrification. I can't change that, but what we can do is target industry where they can utilize AC fast charging and really take electrification into speed, full speed. So if you think about two different avenues for AC fast charging. First of all, this is a feature of our coil driver, a feature of the high voltage drive. The reason for that isn't the drive limitation, it's the application limitation with the voltage. So AC fast charging is only available on our high voltage drives. What it means is two things. So imagine that you are a bus manufacturer. In your bill of material, you have what's called an onboard charger. That charger is how you convert to charge your vehicle when you plug in to the DC fast charge, so the electric station. You pull up, you plug in, you charge it. That bus is going to charge on a DC fast charger in about 3.5 hours. There's lots that make that up technically. I'm not going to get into the big details, but in order to be able to DC fast charge, you need to have the battery capacity. It's usually an 800 volt, but you need to have that battery capacity, and you need to have the infrastructure coming in, the transformer power. So you can't pull into your house, have an 800 volt high speed, Porsche Taycan, and DC fast charge. You're still going to level 2 charge because that's all the power that comes into your house. So infrastructure, transformer, and battery size are the two things that you need to be able to fast charge. So the OEM, the bill of material, that onboard charger ranges anywhere from $2,000 and up. So right off the bat, we have a bill of material reduction of approximately $2,000 on the high voltage charger. But then when you're selling that bus, you are usually, as the bus manufacturer, selling the infrastructure. Or maybe, UPS or a FedEx fleet operator is buying the infrastructure. So they're going to buy whatever their budget allows for the number of DC fast chargers. On average, a DC fast charger is about $30,000. For Exro, you charge through the drive. Again, we have our first level, which is bill of material, but now you don't need the DC fast charging station. You can use just a regular, we call it an electronic station, an AC fast charge station. And so it's, a bunch of electronics. We don't build the AC fast charge station. And you just plug into that and you're going to charge the same. So now that bus is going to charge in 3.5 hours, just like it did with the DC fast charger, but your infrastructure cost is going to be 90% less. Instead of $30,000, you're going to be spending $3,000, approximation. And so it's a huge, huge total cost of ownership improvement. That is a feature that we have on the Coil Driver. We patented that feature last July, which we announced in a press release. Our first pilot for that charging feature will go out at the end of this year with the C-Electric drive. We will start commercializing that next year. So we need to get out and we need to get it into the market. We need to prove that you could do it. This is another example of first to market. It takes time to get that acceptance level. There's all kinds of business studies where you can look at that adoption rate. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get people. I can tell you that that is a big part of where all of our demand is coming, is being able to utilize that feature. We've had it working in our lab here in Calgary. That battery control that you saw earlier, there's actually a charging feature right there. We've had it working for a long time. So we are super confident in what we're going to be able to deliver. We're just getting it out on the road now. So that's kind of a basic on how our AC fast charging works. The voice of the customer, what's happening? Why haven't the big guys come and jumped on? Well, I would say, look, it takes time. It takes time from both sides. I've got a team that we have a large team for where we are as a company. I recognize that. I appreciate the support and trust that you've had in us as the Exro team to continue to develop. And so we have NDAs with all the customers and names that you'd imagine that we're working through. We have a lot of different proof points that we have to show as we go through, which we've been meeting over the last several months. And as I said, we're looking towards what that means and how we're going to work towards a strategic partnership and how we define that. So I think right now, the voice of our customers is very, very positive. We have a lot of interested parties that are working with us through simulations. We have a lot of customers that are getting ready to place us sample orders that we'll be able to ship on. Being that we had delays over the last 2 years, we also, as an executive team, want to hold up and be credible, not just to you, our shareholders, but to our customers. So we're trying to temper what we put out there and what we can actually deliver from a supply chain, from a build, from a testing. Every time we send out a sample, we have weeks of testing right now. That will change in 2023. Last year, we had to test one drive before we could test drive 2. Now we're testing multiple drives in a week. In the first quarter, we'll be testing 4 different things at the same time. Once we get to production, we won't have to test everything that we do. The other thing that we're doing is finding motor partners that will really work with us and allow us to really amplify our business. So when you think about what a strategic partner is, do we have a separate slide for that one? I can't remember. Yeah. Okay, so when you think about the different partnerships, I'm just going to remind everybody what it means. So a development partner is somebody for something that is new, like we worked with Templar early on in Exro, to look at an application that we're not sure how the Coil Driver would perform. How we've been handling that right now is, quite frankly, we're way too busy with commercial partners and strategic partners to look at a lot of development partners right now. So we've looked at a couple of development applications that we think will be great future partnerships for us, but we haven't accepted to take on any development partners right now. I would say that we won't be taking on development partners through the next several months unless it's something that we really feel ties up to our start of production or our revenue. But they remain an important part of our business. There's no guarantee of the outcome of a development partner. A commercial partner is a partner that we know the Coil Driver will have a performance improvement in. Performance meaning the actual performance, torque, speed, or cost. It will give them a return on their investment. We don't know what the commercial arrangement looks like. The reason we don't know what the commercial arrangement looks like is because our commercial team has to go through months of negotiation. Those customers are already buying from somebody else. Again, we're not introducing something that they've never bought. So sometimes they have 5-year contracts, sometimes they have 3-year contracts. Very rarely you see a one-year contract. That's what's great about this business, is it's usually 3+ years. So as we look at those commercial contracts, we have to fit into that contract. So there's a timing of when that revenue is recognized. It will start in 23, it'll be material in 23, it will build substantially in 24. We have 5 analysts covering us right now, so you can see the consensus around those. We're very, very comfortable with those consensus. We are very comfortable with all of the numbers that are out there. We're optimistic that we're going to be able to out-deliver with good production, good supply. And so when you think about commercial, those are customers that are going to buy a product. We just aren't 100% locked in on what that number is. And then you'll see us move to what's called a definitive agreement. A definitive agreement means that we know now that we're locking in a certain volume within a certain time period. That's how we'll progress in 2023. So again, think about it. We started with, we have a customer, and we think the drive is going to work here. We think we're going to solve your problem. Let's try this. We moved to master sales agreements with EVTS, Vicinity, and C Electric, which gives us 3-year contracts, first purchase orders for those contracts, and now we're moving into what's called a definitive agreement in 2023. A strategic partner is where I'm going to focus. As I said at the beginning, we have a commitment, which I stand behind still today, that we're going to sign a strategic partner before the end of this year. We are only focused on 2 things through the end of the year, and that is the continuous development and delivery to our partners, C Electric and Vicinity, and our strategic partnership. And so the strategic partnership, I feel great about where we are. There's never a guarantee. I want to put that out there right now as far as the time. For sure we're going to get the partner, the time. But I feel really great about where we are right now. We're hosting customers over the next several days. We're feeling really good about that. And so I'm pretty confident that we're going to be coming out to you with something great. Could be days, but before the end of the year, before I go off with a Christmas note to you. What does a strategic partner mean? This is really, really important because there's a lot of kind of murmuring in social world and a lot of questions that came through. So a strategic partner could be a tier 1, it could be an automotive, it could be an OEM, an original equipment manufacturer. That means that they manufacture a vehicle or they manufacture a motor that partners to go into the vehicle. The reason that's really important is for us to get into, for example, I'm making a big disclaimer right now. This is an example. This is not something I'm working on. This is not the partner that I'm working on necessarily. I want to work with a Ford, a GM, a Porsche. I'm putting out a few of them on purpose so that we make it clear. This is just an example. That means that they're buying from a tier 1 like Linamar. There's other tier 1s, but this is one tier 1. Currently, for example, Linamar does the axles for the VW ID.5, not with our drive, not a project we're currently on. As we build our credibility, the way we get into the automotive world is through tier 1s, for the most part. I would say for 80% of the passenger vehicles. So this is our conduit in. By proving it through our first partnership, we prove that not only can we deliver to a tier 1, we can scale our product, we can meet those standards, we can deliver. So we're already there, guys. So a strategic partner for Exro defines somebody that amplifies our business, that takes us farther than we can go as a standalone drive, that already has a product like a motor manufacturer, for example, an automotive motor manufacturer. So somebody that's already supplying the motor for that powertrain and is now saying, hey, I want your electronics. And every time I put a motor in a drive, in a powertrain, I'm going to use your drive. These partnerships take us, on the best day, about 24 months to develop. Then from there, you go to at least a year. Sometimes it's multiple years. But when you're through that, you get tens of thousands of units in a year. So now, remember 2 other things. So that defines what a strategic partnership is. Partnerships that are large volume, like the customer that we announced a few months ago in Europe, an NDA in the agricultural and off-highway, can also amplify our business. In that partnership, we have a motor partner that's in there. They're smaller than what I would call a strategic partner is today. There's an OEM in there, and we're doing one platform. That means we're doing one vehicle. The manufacturer builds several vehicles. Let's, for sake of our argument, call it 5 vehicles. Once we go through that proof of concept, that design to manufacture, we're delivering our series production into that unit. That successful partnership would bring us into those other platforms. So that's kind of been our long-term model, how we build our 25, 26, 27 plus revenue. In the meantime, even if that takes us an extra few months to get through, whether that's because it takes us longer to sign the right contract or because that takes us longer to deliver on a pilot or prototype because you're back to development, so you could be, maybe somebody says, I want it to be smaller. Now we've got to manage heat and harmonics and everything else. How do we do that? So whatever the condition might be in a development program, the end result is very, very impactful to the business. In the meantime, the short term is being able to fill through what we call our core products, our Coil Driver A20, L40, L80, through the kits I showed you early on, through our partners like the one in Europe, we call them ETO, Engineered to Order. We take this drive that I showed you, I'm just going to put it up here again, this drive here. This is called an air-cooled drive. We make it liquid-cooled. Instead of 100 volts components that we put in here, we take those components and we design them into a 48 volt. I make it sound easy. It's relatively easy, but time. So this proof of concept as a liquid-cooled drive will deliver to that customer in the first quarter. Those kind of ETO and core products, those kind of simpler designs for us, will feed our material revenue from 23, 24, and then 25, and then you see that balance. So that's kind of how we balance that. So before I go off today, I'd like to just say once again, we couldn't do this without your support. So for those that have supported us for a very long time, I know the road has been bumpy. I recognize that development is difficult. I'm feeling it right there with you, not only as a shareholder, but also as the CEO, as a team member, watching my team go through and face everything that we're doing. I think about, as I walk through Calgary, we have boards like this that are black from when we blew them up early on before we were talking about de-risking our product, to where we have a product that I can hold with one hand now. So the progress that we've made is phenomenal. So for me, I find that the bumps that we've went through, those valleys that we've went through have more than paid off for themselves, and the year ahead of us is just a super launch into what our future is. So 2023 will launch us into production, it will launch us into material revenue, it will launch us into material partnerships, and it will establish us as the market leader for drives that we want to become in the future. So before I say goodbye to you, I'm going to let you know that how we're going to go out of our live stream today. First of all, thank you to our marketing team. Brent and Mo are sitting here in front of me. We couldn't have pulled this off today without you. They were here late last night and videoing all of the videos that you saw today were done yesterday. So those were literally live videos that we filmed yesterday so that you could have that feeling of exactly what I've seen since I arrived in Calgary. I took a midnight flight on Monday, so since I arrived into the facilities yesterday morning. And so we couldn't have pulled this off. Hopefully it's been a better experience for you to see us today. And I'm excited to share with you our new brand video. So you're going to go out with a brand video. It's about 1.5 minutes. We're going to have lots of new videos, lots of new content as we come into the new year. And I'll be talking to you one more time live from Phoenix next month. If you have any questions, please reach out on our website. You can reach out to our IR team or our info team on there. And thank you again for your support. And I'm going to get back to work. Thank you.